afternoon, don't you?
I think we'll win easily.
Easy win then, okay. Thanks very much, Bob and Jimmy. More from you at half-time. There we see the captain shaking hands now. So let's join Trevor Brooking and Barry Davis in Tirana.
Mia Broma, Mirsevini Nastipuri. Good afternoon and welcome to Albania. On a truly delightful afternoon, it's just a little breeze, it's warm sunshine, and there is a haze over the Daji Mountains which form a backcloth to this fine Qemal Stafa stadium. The two captains, Brian Robson captaining England for the 50th time, and for Albania is their forward, Arben Minga. Let's just check on the Albanian lineup. 5 come from 17 Nenturi, 3 from Partizani and 1 from Dynamo, so 9 of the side from the 3 clubs of the city of Tirana. The other 2 come from Bielesnia, where the England under-21 side were successful yesterday. And just a confirmation of the England lineup, just the one change from the side which played in Greece, the inclusion of Chris Waddle with Peter Beardsley starting the match as a substitute. And among those substitutes is the Queen's Park Rangers defender, Paul Parker, who would seem to have been preferred to Tony Adams. All the photographers around the England team who have been very, very warmly greeted here. The atmosphere was marvellous yesterday for the training. Bobby Robson wanted to have nobody in the stadium at all, and the stadium was in fact cleared. And then suddenly back came the crowd, they found a way in, and there must have been about 3,000 here cheering at every opportunity that was given them. And Paul Gascoigne was very much the star of the show, both with acrobatics in shooting and then acrobatics in goal. The best seats here cost 60 pence, but then you should bear in mind that the average wage here is £15 a week. The attitude of the crowd will be interesting. They do have a bit of a reputation of going absolutely silent when their side is not doing particularly well. There is their manager, Shukure Reli, and the substitutes. And of course, each side dressing 5 substitutes, of whom 2 may be used. Just a quick word from Trevor Brooking before the kickoff.
Well, I think the fact that the crowd do get very fervent once the game gets underway and their side is attacking, these first 15 minutes of England can just sort of wrestle the authority away and show the initiative and push forward. Hopefully they'll keep the crowd quiet, because I think it's very important that they don't allow them to get too excited.
So look at the England bench, and away we go on an afternoon which to rewrite Rupert Brooke. This is a foreign field which needs to be for England, and that was a worrying start from the man who we saw just a few moments ago scoring the goal against Sweden, Shehu, who is quick, and a worrying start again for Gary Stevens, as in Greece. Peter Shilton. And will take his time, I'm sure. Needing to calm things at the start there. This is Pearce of Nottingham Forest. Bright sunshine, as I said, but the breeze will be welcomed by the players. Hodja, number 4 across. He plays as the spare man at the back, with Gega and Lekbello as the 2 central markers, with Waddle and Lineker and Rocastle. It's still in. Well, the judge to have gone out and come back. All the officials this afternoon come from Holland. John Blankenstein is the referee, Frans Huben and Jan Hober, the 2 linesmen. John Blankenstein, incidentally, is the accounts manager of the Dutch Olympic Committee. And he was telling me that he has never refereed England before. It's a stadium which officially holds 20,000. But the crowd is estimated to be rather nearer 30,000 this afternoon. Josa, challenged by Robson, and the England captain got her elbow in the face, but the foul was by Robson. Jera trying to start things. Josa, John Barnes, and not the best of challenges by Gega. Lineker and Waddle forward. This is Stevens. Rocastle to the right. Butcher is well up on the far side. Rocastle just nudged at the worst moment from his point of view by Lekbello. By Jera, in fact. Goalkeeper Mersini winning his 5th cap. He's had to take over from a rather well-known goalkeeper in this neck of the woods, Perlet Muster, who a couple of years ago earned a hefty suspension because of problems in a European match against Benfica. Twice already we've seen the pace of Shehu. Don't want to see it too much, do we? Robson. Rocastle getting forward quite a lot on this right side at the start. Jera, who plays for Lasnia Skodra. Nice neat turn by Millo. Albanian Footballer of the Year. Josa feeding to the right. Both sides playing with 2 up. In each case wearing 10 and 9. Termination from Pearce. Butcher. England having to take a positive approach. And why not? This is a side that we ought to beat. Northern Ireland have been here on a couple of occasions and been held both times. Walker had to watch the bounce. The players expressed themselves quite happy with the quality of the pitch. Rocastle. Webb. Ball is getting up very high indeed, and the foot of Webb was high too. Yesterday it seemed to be good enough to take a short stud, but it would appear to have dried out a bit. Zmijani. Albanian team, incidentally, precisely that which lost to Sweden when really they should have won. Saw the goal by Shehu. We didn't see a miss, which was a great deal easier than the one he scored from. Demollari. Faced by Robson. That's comfortable for Stevens. Rocastle. Waddle did well to make something of that. Webb. Good running, Robson. If it will fall for him, and it didn't, but it's a corner. First of the match. Rocastle is going across to take it. Terry Butcher making his way forward. Waddle on the edge of the 6-yard area. Lineker in the line with the far post from the kicker's viewpoint. Breeze has got up a little bit. Waddle, that's changed the angle. Waddle has to scamper not to be offside. Final ball too long. First 5 minutes have elapsed. No score. Jera. Interesting, the crowd anxious for him to get on with it. This is Lekbello. Hodja. Looking for Shehu. There's Walker. Stevens. Lineker goes away from his man, but Gega meeting it comfortably. Lineker. Give him the time to put it down, nobody clattered him. Webb didn't take the time to look up before making the cross. Demollari. Offside.
Good start by England, really. They've taken the initiative, pushing men forward and closing down on the Albania team, particularly the number 11, Demollari, who's the schemer, and they're not giving him any time to settle on the ball.
Three-round Demollari then, forcing the error eventually from Zmijani. This is Lekbello. Bit of a dive in by Walker on Minga. Minga, the captain and one of the survivors of Albania's best result in world football back in December 1984 when they beat Belgium here 2-0 in a World Cup qualifier. He was one of the scorers indeed that day. Here he is, Minga again. Won it well. Slight alarms at the back. As I said, England have taken the initiative. I think it might also be said they look better when they're coming forward than they have on 3 defensive occasions so far. Josa. Zmijani. Shehu. It's a corner. England player thought it was a goal kick, but the linesman had immediately indicated a corner. Albania's second. Shehu comes short for it. Gega is up. 3 went for 1 man, in fact. And Lineker here, somewhat in need of help. Lekbello. Forced across, but got his pass in. Jera. Brave attempt, but a failure. Plenty of aggression in the England midfield. Walker. Stevens on this near side. Rocastle tucked in a bit. Waddle tries to come wide. Gega came with him. It's been the pattern so far. Gega marking Waddle. And Lekbello, Lineker. Jera with Rocastle. Walker, all bar Shilton in the Albanian half. Rocastle. Nice first touch. Stevens. Webb. Just a slight ooh and no more.
Neil Webb there, in fact, is the one player who on 3 or 4 occasions now hasn't been picked up in the Albanian midfield, and Brian Robson, the one perhaps who's holding more, and Neil Webb giving the freer role to push forward.
Lineker, Barnes, Waddle forward, Lineker makes the run. The best of passes, 2 against 2 at the back. Pearce. Butcher. A few yards to go into, but opted for the long ball down the line. Demollari has 3 for company and only 3 England defenders back at the moment. Demollari again, good interception by Walker. Got the challenge in well. This is Minga. Jera. Free kick given. Challenged by Butcher as Demollari turned. So Demollari wants to take it. Or it could be Minga. It is Minga. Really get any power at all in the shot. Millo to Demollari again. Free kick. Rocastle. England shouldn't be too unhappy if the referee is hot on the tackle. Hodja. Millo. There's half a chance there. There are a few problems at the back for England. Shehu. Butcher has come across. Minga waiting in the middle, watched by Walker. Demollari. Shehu, it's too long. And the flag was up for offside anyway.
The problems you mentioned defensively, strangely enough, have come all from crosses, haven't they? The number 10 Minga has won 2 or 3 balls, and that's a tactic that we didn't think we'd have a problem with.
Wind has certainly gained a bit in strength. Pearce. Hodja. Plenty of time. Didn't give Millo too much chance of moving on to that. Rocastle read the intention. Nice spin turn too. Space for Webb on the right side. Lineker in the middle. Stevens on the overlap too. This is useful. Met by Gega. That's a goal kick.
Good build-up again down the right-hand side. David Rocastle seems to have settled in very well, justifying his selection early on, and Neil Webber's again getting in the cross, and it was pleasing to see 3 men in on the cross, although it was cleared.
Long for Shehu. Walker for company. Pure for handball, which would have been hugely harsh, especially as Walker seemed to me to be pushed. Josa. Blocked by Robson. Waddle caught in 2 minds, hasn't really been able to get into the match yet, Chris Waddle. Scored in Tottenham's last 3 games, including a couple a week ago against Aston Villa. But 15 minutes gone in this World Cup qualifier. Albania 0, England 0. Butcher. Waddle. Good chest. Well, a disappointing cross, to put it mildly, by Stuart Pearce.
Slight difference Chris Waddle is going to have to find playing a striker's role is the ability he's got to do to develop that couple of yards space, because when you're a man-to-man mark as a front man, and especially you've got a sweeper behind you, you have to work really hard just to get to those 2 or 3 yards bits of space, which will give him the opportunity then to run at people.
On by Minga. Webb. Stevens. Rocastle diagonally forward, this is he. Waddle, nice use of the chest again. Lineker, good tackle by Lekbello. Barnes! Good stuff from England. Again, the move on the right side, and a lovely touch in the middle of it from Chris Waddle. And John Barnes scores for the 2nd England match running. 16 minutes gone, and England have the lead. Stevens with the build-up. Rocastle. A look at the touch here by Waddle. Lekbello just got in the challenge, but they'd all been sucked in. Barnes was unmarked, and he struck it very cleanly with the right foot. 1-0 to England. Lineker. Robson. Waddle.
Well, terrific that the goal has come at that stage, really, because England had started very well, and you just had a feeling it would be nice to turn that superiority. Here there's a chance again, and John Barnes, all he's got to do at that stage is to keep it on the floor with his right foot. He'd be very pleased. And I must mention David Rocastle's cross as well, because it wasn't an easy one to hit, and it was his great cross really that put everyone under pressure on the Albanian defence.
It's gone a little quiet in the crowd. It's been a half holiday here. Full holiday yesterday for the teachers, and today is Ladies' Day. This is Shehu. Played it too early. Seems to me to be slightly tough on the ladies that all the men are here watching a football match. Gega. Walker. Rocastle. Demollari. Shehu is offside. England confining the space for Albania. If you're wondering where their space actually is, we have Greece to the south, Yugoslavia to the north and east, and the Adriatic washing their western shore. It's tucked in the Balkan Peninsula, the smallest country of that peninsula. It's a bit theatrical, but a free kick nonetheless. It's Josa, I think, who went down. Two-man relief.
Time for the England players to talk about the opening, and I'm sure they're delighted. And I think now that they must feel that they've got to push on from there, because they've shown they can break down this Albanian defence, and a second goal, because the crowd are very, very quiet after that first goal, a second goal could really kill the game.
Gega on the ball from the free kick. Minga again, blocked by Robson. He certainly struck that rather better than the earlier one. Robson was well on top of him the time it took for the free kick. Jera, just about a legal throw, but it must have been close. Pitch is not the widest on a scene for international play. Demollari with the free kick. And Butcher caught chasing shadows. And John Barnes after Des Walker with the header. Unlucky not to get a free kick there for the use of the arm by the defender. Robson solidly in midfield. Certain amount of bite from the England captain.
Webb and Robson in particular have closed down the Albanians. They do like that little bit of time, and certainly that tackle just let them know that they're not going to get that time.
John Barnes. Good play. He seemed to have kept it in, but in fact he curled it out and back in.
Although the pitch, the England lads were quite pleased with it, one thing I think that little run by John Barnes did emphasise, that is going to be the one great problem, to run with the ball, because you just get that last-minute bobble as you're about to centre, and what we call you shin it behind the goal.
Waddle has come quite deep, couldn't take it. But by coming deep, he's often pulling Gega away, taking him with him into areas the defender would probably not wish to go. Finds himself drawn there. Webb. Waddle. Barnes again. Albanians caught trying to build in midfield. Lineker. Slightly looking for the challenge of Hodja then. This is Demollari. Two to his right. Shehu makes the run right to left and creates a nice gap for Minga. Brian Robson back to cover. But there is clearly a threat there. Shehu's pace and Minga was given a bit of room by a very good diagonal run. Demollari, if you give him time, is a good passer of the ball. Demollari, stretched by Butcher, shot was from Zmijani, but the flag I think was up anyway.
Peter Shilton just having a shout at his defence. I think sometimes during a game he just likes to have a shout, let off a bit of steam, but I think he's probably making them aware that Demollari, just twice so far, he plays in that little area behind the hole of the front two strikers, and he's picked the ball up twice, and when he's running at the back four, that's when the problems might occur.
Lineker trying to anticipate the back pass, but it was struck strongly enough. Gega. He likes to get forward. Lineker. Use of the arm, says the Dutch referee. Free kick is Albania's. Albania playing their 6th international of the season, which for them is a lot. Make it their 87th in total. Going back to 1946. Too many men to take on. Rocastle with a shout, and given the ball, Hodja is committed. Goal kick.
Doesn't seem to be feeling the knee injury that has caused him 1 or 2 problems in his recent Arsenal game, so that's good news, David Rocastle.
Pearce came off the England player in challenge with Josa. Shehu. He's again. Walker just holds the ground, but Shehu goes past him. And I'm sorry that we weren't able to show you suddenly about 20,000 people up off their seats. But again, the concern, Walker stood his ground initially, which I think was right, but it needed Shilton to cover well and with difficulty on the near post. Some delay in the corner because Josa is still feeling the knock of a few moments ago. Out by Webb. Zmijani struck it well, but wide. I think Shilton thought he was going to be credited with the save, but the referee was well placed, said he didn't touch it. England goalkeeper somewhat in 2 minds then in terms of what happened, but only afterwards.
It was a great shot. I think he'd have done very well to get a touch to it, but it just shows the England defence, they're certainly not happy overall in this opening 25 minutes, and we certainly can't relax at 1-0 at this stage.
Millo. Gega. Stays forward. Millo. Good attempt by Albania to seize the initiative here. They're having a good spell. Millo. Demollari. Josa. Demollari. So many England players back. The front two were isolated. Lineker. Rocastle. Barnes couldn't get there. Blocked by Zmijani, but the referee says not unfairly, it was just an accidental clash. Problems for the crowd on the far side to see. It would seem that there are several people for just the one seat. There's a little bit of push and shove. I hasten to add from home supporters of the city, at least of the country. Officially 137 supporters here from England. Doesn't, of course, include the media and all the members of the England squad. Here's Shehu! Great credit to Pearce, because Butcher was comprehensively beaten. And there was just enough as Pearce came here, balanced himself to force Shehu to go wide, and Shilton was equal to it. He got a touch off both the defender and the goalkeeper, but the Nottingham Forest player did enormously well then, and an excellent save that finished it. Just a touch and a beautiful tip away by Peter Shilton. And the new partnership in the middle of the England defence is looking very shaky indeed. I have to say that Terry Butcher's made more errors in this match than I've seen him make for many a long day. This is Lekbello. Millo. But the crowd have been roused from their slumbers on a warm afternoon. Side have come back well. England look good going forward, but anything but when they're going backwards. Webb. It's noticeable that Robson didn't come forward then as Webb had possession. Rocastle. Stevens is waiting but not seen. Hodja. Barnes. Zmijani is lost. On by Waddle.
Crowd still buzzing over that previous incident when, in fact, as you say, Terry Butcher went for the interception and got caught very flat. And Shehu, I think if he'd have had a left foot, that was the foot he should have hit it with. And Stuart Pearce then managed to push him onto his right and didn't quite catch it properly. And Peter Shilton made a good save. But I think Terry Butcher, as you say, won't be happy. And one of the senior players, I think Bobby Robson would have been looking to him in particular today.
It's Chris Waddle, on whom there's a fair amount of expectancy too, having been preferred to Peter Beardsley in this forward role. It's a free kick for that challenge on him. Butcher has come forward on the far side. 5 England players in the 18-yard area. Played on the near post. Lineker never looked like getting to it. Pearce. Webb. Lineker. Robson makes the forward run, has 2 for company. We've had the first half an hour of this World Cup tie. England a goal to the good. Scorer Barnes in the 16th minute. But there have been a few alarms. Zmijani. This is Lekbello. The back players like to show themselves in attack, which is usually organised by Demollari. This is Shehu. Stevens changed his mind. This is Millo. Another good tip over. The hesitancy in the England defence is clear for all to see, and the gap here for Millo. They are not playing together, the defenders. Butcher out by Barnes, and Lineker is on his own. What a beautiful trap. Chris Waddle. Handball. Well, Robson a bit unhappy about it.
I think he was unhappy with the ball that Chrissy Waddle gave him just before that. But the defence is the worry at the moment. Gary Stevens definitely hesitated on the previous attack, and then when he went to make the tackle, he was always going to be second best, and that's when the opening created itself.
England have the 1 goal, but the balance of play is shown by the fact that Albania have had 5 corners to England's 1. Stevens. Pearce, who's the only member of the back four for me who's shown anything like club form at the moment. Robson. Barnes. Lineker. Good challenge by Lekbello. Space for Stevens. Comfortable coming forward. Fairly orthodox cross. Good clearance by Hodja. Josa. Comfortable on the ball, the Albanians. Waddle. Taking on Lekbello. Gets the corner. Rocastle has gone across to take it. Barnes just on the edge of the 6-yard area. There's Butcher there too. Good header by Hodja. Under pressure from Brian Robson. Webb. Cut out by Josa. Millo. Jera. Webb. Lineker does well. Barnes takes over. Lineker again. I thought that Stevens had pushed up, but he hadn't. This is Jera. And again, they're looking for the quick break. They might get it. Ball given away. Walker denying another charge in on Peter Shilton. Already saved his team twice with excellent saves, coming in the space of 4 minutes. Stevens. There, Walker. Millo. Fair to say it's not the first time that an England defence has looked in trouble recently. On the other side has quick men about. Pearce. Barnes. Robson is down the left side. Webb in possession. Stevens offering himself here. Has more opportunity to get forward than Pearce. Rocastle. Webb square, 3 in the box. Lineker. Rocastle, was a good return ball, and Brian Robson it was who came in on the far post and just couldn't make the finish. Ball bobbled away from the stretch of the left leg. A concern surely for Mr. Reddy, and good play again on the right side, that time involving Rocastle and Lineker. He was the player with his hands to his head as Robson couldn't apply the coup de grace.
Rocastle playing very well down the right-hand side yet again. The cross just eluding everyone else. And going forward, we've had some good moves, England. The main problem really has been the distribution as well as the defensive plays, the distribution from the back. Whereas Albania defensively are very good on the ball, the England defence have been giving the ball away.
Josa. Zmijani. Millo. Was out. Well, everybody want to know what the gentleman in the blazer is thinking. Stafa counted his luck a couple of times, or at least counted the brilliance of his goalkeeper. Demollari. Stevens. Rocastle. Like a push by Gega, but not given. Minga. Josa. Zmijani starts to make the run in. Good covering header by Pearce. Webb. Two England players not together. Waddle obviously expecting Webb was going to hold it. And Webb thinking he was going to get it straight on to Waddle. Come short and close to him. Webb. Lineker, given a bit of room that time by Gega, who stood off him. Stevens. Again, it's extraordinarily quiet for an international match. Rocastle, take him on, he's being encouraged from the bench, and he does so. Good cross again. Stevens, Webb, still Webb. Poor defensive work then by Albania, but they survive it. And here is Millo. All bubbled a bit for him as he went to play the forward pass. Bit of a push by Shehu, free kick given. David Rocastle, the Arsenal player, certainly justifying the faith of the manager. Praised him after the performance in Greece. And he seems to have gained from the confidence that he was given. Too strong for Lineker to chase. And I believe you're picking up a certain amount of noise from the England bench. We're knowing how they're feeling and the urging they're giving to the England players. It's okay when it's in the right half of the field where our commentary position is. The other end is a very different story. Shehu. Jera. Comfortably covered. It's curious, really. The best of England is on the right side of attack, and the worst of England is on the right side of defence. It's Pearce. Minutes of the first half remaining. Joined us late. England leading by a goal to nil, scored by John Barnes at the end of a good move. Came just at the end of the 16th minute. But Peter Shilton has needed to show how good he still is in order to protect that lead with two excellent saves in the space of 4 minutes. Jera. Demollari. Bit of room then. Josa. He's a good lieutenant to Demollari, very different sort of player. Offside. It's Millo, who is the Albanian Footballer of the Year. He was doubtful for this match. He's got a problem with the left knee. Robson. Pearce. Waddle trying to lose Gega, but not supplied well. John Barnes. Chris Waddle. Needed two to beat him. Demollari. Every time he gets the ball, the chatter in the crowd increases. Millo, interception by Gary Stevens. Rocastle.
Well, as half-time approaches, Peter Shilton had an excellent half. Midfield duo, I think Neil Webb, Brian Robson did extremely well, and David Rocastle in particular down the right-hand side. Definitely Gary Stevens and Terry Busher have had happier international halves. And at the moment, the experiment of playing Chris Waddle up front, he's having difficulty, I think, losing that man-to-man marker. And the bobbly surface isn't ideal for running with the ball as he likes.
Shehu trying to set up again, a good covering header by Pearce. Robson. I think that pass was intended for Waddle, who was about 10 or 15 yards further forward. Stevens. Lekbello. The 5 players from 17 and Tory. Challenging for the championship against the current leaders, Partizani. Lekbello. Josa. Gega. Minga in the inside right position. Shehu down the middle. There's a chance for a counter here. Lineker in possession. Barnes one side, Waddle the other. No support from midfield. Now up comes Rocastle. Gega calls defence back. Disappointing that England didn't make more of that, while they actually had a man advantage. Rocastle. That's a good ball by Rocastle again. 3 to find. Robson, slightly, I think, confused by the run of John Barnes. Didn't get a clear view to strike the ball. Called for it, but it was too late. Barnes was already committed to make the run across the front of him. So I think this will prove.
Quite right, a late shout there from, I think, as John Barnes went across his line, and Brian Robson didn't see it till very late, and an lovely pitch like that on his right foot. Never struck it at full sweep.
Lekbello. Shehu sets it up for Minga. Millo do support these front 2 players well. Lekbello again. Zmijani having to turn. Hodja. Wasted ball.
Well, as we go into the last minute, sure, a very delighted relief, Bobby Robson, to go 1-0 up, but there have been some near misses, a couple of vital saves from Peter Shilton, and a lot to chew over in the half-time talk, but the scoreline is a very pleasing one.
Rocastle battling his way through. Free kick. Goal by John Barnes, incidentally. The 124th score by England. In Bobby Robson's reign, this is 74th match in which he's been in charge. England pushing 3 to the far side, now 4 with Webb. Waddle is to the right. Barnes and Rocastle, the 2 on the ball. And that's all academic, because time has ticked out and we have reached the half-time point of this World Cup qualifier. England have the lead, but it's a lead which they gained well, but on which they have not felt too comfortable.
Well, England's 12th goal only in 14 games. Would you say that was a satisfactory first half, Bob?
Well, it's a satisfactory score, but it's not a really good performance. None of the players can really be pleased with themselves, with the exception possibly of Rocastle, who's done particularly well on the right-hand side of the field. I feel that the game itself has been altogether too hurried from our point of view. We've been trying to get the ball up there much too quickly. We've not had that patient build-up. In fact, one of the only patient build-ups we had resulted in the goal that we scored. I think also we've been a little bit stretched. Our forward players a long way from our defenders, and we've not been together. That has created terrible problems for us, because their back people have been able to come in and threaten our midfield more than they should have done, really, and created a couple of really serious situations, you know, at the other end. But generally speaking, it's not a good performance by a few of the players as individuals.
And defence has looked a bit unhappy, hasn't it, Jim?
Yes, it has indeed. Thank goodness for Peter Shilton, because he's one of the old contemptibles who really proved the decision absolutely right. But Gary Stevens as well, remember last time we pointed out against Greece that he threw away the first goal against England. Well, this time he initiated the goal right from the start, and it was lovely to see. He's hardly wasted a ball today. He's one of those who has distributed well, but instead of panicking,
Threads it through there.
yeah,
Beautiful.
he threads that through the centre there to Rocastle, and this cross from Rocastle was threatening. And there's Waddle does well to breast it back. Lineker fumbles a bit. The clearance comes to Barnes, who, whatever else he does, on or off the field, finishes well from that kind of position. So it was a bit of calmness from the back which brought it about. There you see Rocastle's optimistic cross, well chested down by Waddle, and then he moves out the way to make the chance for Lineker, but it's not he who has the chance to hole out. Coolly taken, low past the goalkeeper's feet by Barnes.
He's done well down that right side, Rocastle, hasn't he?
He has. He looks like a player who's had a big sack taken off his back. He's suddenly lighter of foot. He's dancing around the place. He's not frightened to initiate, and he looks like an international that's been there for some time. It's good news.
But what about Waddle, Bobby? Do you think he's had a reasonable first half? He doesn't seem to
I
be in the
don't
game very much.
I thought that this particular match was made for Waddle. He's in form, he's been playing well for his club, he's gone in, he's got a position behind the front two players, which is ideal for him. And he really seems to have been labouring. I'm thinking physically more than anything else. Maybe the pitch is a little bit too bumpy and it doesn't suit his type of game where he runs with the ball. But he has, in lots of cases, you know, lost easy possession, and he's not actually doing his job as far as marking men is concerned. So I am a bit disappointed with him because I thought he would have a big influence on this particular game. But looking at that goal, it reminded me really of the goal that the Irish scored against us in the championships, in the European Championships last summer, when Rocastle knocked that great early cross in. You know, you put defenders under pressure when you knock good early balls in, and that was a really good example of that.
Just one quick point on that. Gary Lineker is off form. I mean, that first half showed. Not confidence. The Rocastle confidence is there. Lineker, very low.
Right. More thoughts in a moment when we'll look at the Albanians' attempts on goal. They've impressed me with their play out of defence, I must say.
Very sweetly.
We'll look at that in just a moment. But first, we've got some goals to show you from the European club games of this last week. And we start with another World Cup qualifier, in fact. Jera now reports.
They've just started the second qualifying round in the Oceania group. Israel in blue had home advantage over New Zealand. Ronnie Rosenthal's goal after only 8 minutes won it for Israel. Next game in this group is on Sunday, New Zealand versus Australia. In Europe, PSV Eindhoven, the Dutch champions, thrashed Willem II 7-0. Ronnie Koeman's ferocious free kick started the rout. When this cross was handled, the penalty was pretty clear-cut. The referee certainly wasn't in two minds. Neither was Romario, who took the kick. Willem II had only themselves to blame for the next one. Assume the ball will go out and you could be embarrassed. They were. Jules Ellerman scored 3-0. Before half-time, Ronnie Koeman came through his favourite inside right channel to score again and emphasise how much PSV will miss him when he goes to Barcelona for next season. Hans Hilhaus was involved in all 3 second-half goals. This was his cross for Ellerman to score. Then came a move initiated once again by Koeman. Hilhaus was in place to apply the final touch. And for 7-0, it was Hilhaus's header against the post that gave Romario the rebound for his second goal. PSV looked certain of their 4th consecutive title. Ajax, who drew, are 6 points behind. Benfica still rule the Portuguese roost. Fonseca's stunning drive set them on the way to victory over Fafe. Diamantino made it 2-0. And against a side languishing 3 places from the bottom, Diamantino made it 3-0. One more to come, a stab from the Angolan Vata Garcia, confirming another victory for Benfica, which looked even better with news that their nearest rivals Porto could only draw. Benfica 6 points clear, heading for their 28th championship. One goal was enough for Real Madrid to beat Oviedo in the Spanish league. It came from Schuster's corner, and the replay reveals that Sanchez got the decisive flick to score. Barcelona were winners too, but they're still 3 points behind Real, who have a game in hand. In Italy, a double Dutch move gave AC Milan the lead against Lazio in Rome. Would Gullit plus Lazio's marking make it easy for Marco van Basten? The most precise of crosses and Van Basten's 10th goal of the season. But 10 minutes later, Gullit spoilt it all by getting entangled in a defensive job. Ruben Sousa scored the penalty, and that was how it finished, 1-1. Back in Milan, Internazionale were winning to extend their lead over Napoli to 3 points, with Milan in 4th.
Those second leg matches in Europe next Wednesday. Now, Jimmy, we were saying just before that the Albanians have looked pretty good coming out of defence, haven't they? Their build-up play has been quite nice. They've had some chances, and Shilton has saved us, really.
Yes, indeed. I mean, their style is to play a sweeper, and Bobby's been saying, and you know, that it's time we got round to the sweeper system, because apart from giving you extra security with the man at the back, it does give you that spare man to build on, to bring the ball away with a bit of patience, as against the English style, of course, which is to whack it up there as soon as possible. And they've done that very well. They've threaded their way through midfield with 1 or 2 wall passes, nice little touches. They take a chance on the bumpy surface and push it close to players' legs.
They don't seem to have much trouble with the bumpy surface, as far as I can
tell.
No,
because they're brought up on it. You see, one of the things we've got 2 6-foot players, at least, Waddle and Barnes, who are good runners with the ball. Now, there's a vast difference between being a 6-foot-odd player running with the ball on a bad surface than there is the height of their players. We'll look in a moment at Shehu and the others who are sort of medium height, very nimble, and they're quick to move, and if there is a bounce, they're with it quickly.
Well, Shehu was the man who came close to scoring. He's the fellow who scored against Sweden, as we showed right at the beginning.
Yes.
And he had a couple of good goal attempts.
Well, yeah, and they run optimistically, and thank goodness for England's point of view, because we're all praying for a win today. But look at the pace here. He pushes the ball forward and said, I'm going to go past you, and Walker's no slouch. He got past him. And Shilton's position was excellent there. He was very relieved that he managed to get it past the left-hand side of that post, but his actual position stopped the danger. And here we are again, you see, trying to lay the ball. Look at that. Butcher was tempted forward. He's turned round, and he didn't take that opportunity to shoot, but that's a marvellous save there from Shilton. Whatever anybody said about him, whether he's too old or what, that was one moment where he made every year count. That was going in. Little wall pass, you see, 2 first-time touches, and there's the pass out to the wing. That was the moment where Stevens might have gone sooner. That wasn't such a good save. It was just a little flick over the top. But the one top left-hand corner, which he saved up like that, was Shilton at his best.
The last one there was from Millo.
Millo, yeah.
But do you like their skill, the Albanian skill? Bobby, you were saying some nice things during that half. They played quite well.
The pitch is really awful, and you can understand the frustration of players, you know, having to try and control it. But they managed to do it. They're used to it, like Jimmy says. They don't try to do too much on it. They have a quick look, and if there's someone in a position, they give them the ball. They keep the ball moving a lot quicker than we've done. And they've also probed a little bit quicker than we've done, you know. I mean, the mere fact that that ball beat Terry Butcher at the beginning, you know, was because it was quick, and he was just caught half off balanced, and he was in trouble. But they are still inferior to us individually as players, no matter what anybody else says. We should really win this match quite easily.
Well,
other than the goal that we've scored, we've had 2 great chances. You know,
when the early goal went in, I honestly thought that we'd build on that and we knock another couple in. I thought that would be the problem in this match, didn't you?
Yes.
Perhaps getting the early goal.
I did indeed.
We haven't done it.
It had a reaction on them as well, though. They decided that the game might run away from them, and they started being a bit more positive, and that's when they created the 2 chances that we've just seen. But we are better players than them. I'm frightened. I'm frightened that we're carrying a couple of people. I mean, if you've got an 11-man team, you know, you want 11 to be functioning all together, and I think there are a couple of players there that are actually just not pulling the full weight. Sometimes when they get the opportunity to mark, they're not.
Are we going to name names?
Waddle in particular, and on a couple of occasions Barnes as well. I think he's found it really quite difficult to get back physically. I think that Beardsley maybe should be on, because the way the pitch is, you know, you have to have skillful players. You've got to have people who can control the ball instantly, have a little bit of vision and have a look round and slow the game down so that it suits us and it gives everyone time to coordinate. And I think that we've been lacking that. We've been really too hurried, trying to do it too quickly. And we've got a goal start, which it's a marvellous situation to be in, really. It could have been a lot worse.
We need goals, really, Jim, don't we? Because if we were to finish second in this group, goals would count.
Yes, they could, because the second can qualify. It's the best qualifier from the second place. So, I mean, if we didn't finish top, there is a way in by the back door. So a win is so much more important than a draw, you know, because that could mean we could finish second with an extra point, which would give us the chance, of course, of going to Italy. In a sense, the group might well be decided on what the other three countries do in Albania. They've all got to meet each other, but the main thing is that we get England's health right. You know, if we get our team right, we can forget the rest of them, and Rocastle is an advantage, you know, which has been something that we've built on. One or two players are not quite, you know, what we want. So, I mean, at the moment, I look on the encouraging side. I don't fancy Waddle up front. To be fair, I mean, we may do it for Tottenham under their system. For England, against man-to-man marking and whatever, I like to see him get the ball a bit wider or a bit farther away from the sort of up-front area. And Lineker is not quite on his game. So on that basis, that's the reason I don't think we've sparked as well as we might have and made the chances around there. But hopefully they'll pick up confidence the second half.
Let's hope so. Get a few more goals for us, Bob.
I'm sure.
OK, let's go back there to Tirana then, coming up the second half. 1-0 for England, if you're just joining us. The score of Barnes in 16 minutes. Let's rejoin Trevor Brooking and Barry Davis.
Yeah, it's Peter Shilton. He's been doing what goalkeepers are supposed not to do these days, but making the marks that he wants to make in his area. Winning his 104th cap in this match. And on 53 occasions, he's prevented the other side from scoring. And so far he has here as well. We're waiting for the arrival of the Albanians. And Trevor Brooking and I talking, obviously when you weren't talking, during the half-time interval. Couldn't help but draw on the fact that two players who really haven't done themselves justice defensively, Butcher and Stevens, both play for the same club and both have had experience of playing in Europe.
Somewhat ironic that Rangers, having been in Europe this year, and Terry Butcher and Gary Stevens have been a part of that, have had disappointing games, and just they look a little bit slow on the turn. Terry Butcher, it's probably, I mean, he's such an experienced player, and when he was missing in the European Championship, we said how much we missed him. And certainly, I always think of him as a very important part of the defensive structure, as I know Bobby Robson does. And so, I think it's probably the poorest first half I've seen him have. And I'm sure, knowing how determined character he is, he's standing there with his hands on his hips, waiting for this second half to start, and trying to make sure that he's going to rectify what happened in that first period.
And as we look at Shusharirelli taking his place on the bench, it's interesting that in the 16 defeats that Bobby Robson has had during his career as England manager, none of them have come when Butcher, Robson and Lineker have lasted a full match. Wonder what he had to say at half-time. He requested his defence not to push up his blood pressure so much. Anyway, away we go on the second half. Gary Stevens in possession. Joining us late, England lead by the only goal scored by the man about to take possession, John Barnes, at the end of the 16th minute. England, of course, in white, now attacking the goal to our left. Lekbello rather dwelt on it. Slight hesitancy. Lineker did well. The goalkeeper able to stretch and get it. It was a good jump by Gary Lineker because the ball actually looked as though it was going to clear him. What a difference it would make to Gary Lineker if he could get a score. He's gone 6.5 matches now since he last scored for England. Against Switzerland last May. Here's Neil Webb. Rocastle, pick of the England team in the first period. Looking very confident in everything that he does. He's got Stevens in here. It's a good cross, but couldn't find the header. It's still in play. Barnes. Lineker. Waddle, perhaps it was Webb actually was hoping that Waddle might come in on it, but he didn't. The Tottenham player really hasn't settled for this role of being one of the front two. It's funny how things don't work out when you look back on the Greece match when Alan Smith came off and Beardsley came on. Immediately Beardsley supplied Barnes with a cross that would have been meat and drink to the head of Smith, and in fact it was Lineker who had to do the climbing role and Robson who scored. One of the best laid plans of football managers. Jera. Hodja. Minga forward, Butcher with him. When he goes to get it, he has Walker for company. Webb. Free kick given against Walker. Or the push, I think. Or the free kick. We've got Minga up on this side. Zmijani trying to get through, and he did. And Brian Robson took control. Did well then, the fullback. He had a lot of distance to make up. Just in Zmijani. Robson put that out of harm's way very sharply indeed. Robson's header again. It's Webb who's limped to the running track. He's got a kick in the back of the calf, I think, or a pull in the back of the calf. Lineker, free kick against him. Made a decision to go for that slightly late. Demollari. Robbed by Waddle. Looked up. Finds Barnes. Waddle making tracks down the left side. Lekbello for company, makes a good challenge. Wasn't quite enough on the ball, really, for it to run on for Waddle. Jera. Played by Josa. Robson. Lineker. Some concern about the tackling that might come from the Albanians. It should be said that it's been fair. Lineker hasn't been presented with the bruises that he received in Athens.
Referee's done an excellent job, I think, today. Interesting as well in the those first few minutes. I think on about 3 occasions, Brian Robson has done some key defensive work just to settle everyone down for this second half.
Lekbello just produces a slight bit of clapping from the crowd. But the atmosphere is so foreign to anybody who's used to watching football just about anywhere in Europe. Now here on the Balkan Peninsula, the crowd are quiet until their side do something. Slight applause for Jera for the challenge on Rocastle. Might get a bit more if he goes on much further. Good challenge by Brian Robson. 2 in the middle. Barnes coming forward as well with the shots, which will disappoint him. Didn't hesitate to take it on the full, but didn't get it anything like as he would have wished. Demollari. Zmijani. It's long for Shehu. Could be pushed a bit by Stevens. No whistle. Shehu again. Comes his way for Pearce. But the long ball simply given away. England have, as far as I can remember, never really played the ball forward from the back. It's always been hit for someone to pick up. Good 20 yards up. That's more like it. Bit of space for Webb. Lineker. Come away from the middle where Waddle is. Lineker now playing in the position that he's currently playing for Barcelona. England really playing a front two down the middle, who are somewhat foreign these days to those positions. Waddle at international level, as indeed Lineker at the same level. Waddle, Lekbello is at his back. Good turn. Made some space for himself. Webb, who was forward. Goal kick or foot up, one of the two. It's to Albania's advantage. It's the free kick. And Webb seems to have shrugged off that trouble he had a few moments ago. Seemed to pull the leg muscle. Hodja. Barnes. Useful. Lineker. Bobbled a bit for him. It's a ball that he was given in the sort of way that he likes it to run on. The surface didn't help him at all. It's rather sad to see Gary Lineker in this form that really hasn't returned to his old self since the bout of hepatitis, which came on at the onset of the European Championships. You remember how his finishing really rescued England in the World Cup. Demollari. Stevens. Shehu wasn't too impressed with the pass he was given. Crowd on the far side giving an impression of still life at the moment. Webb won't make that. It's so strange, Trevor, to listen to a match and when there are no chance of any sort.
It's quite unbelievable that there's 30,000 in the stadium and until they get within about 25 yards of the England goal, and then they suddenly come to life. They stand up, the hands go on their head on the crosses and near misses, and yet in between there's just total silence.
Shehu trying to get in behind Stevens. Takes on Walker. Corner. Let's change things for the moment. Comfortable for Butcher. Albanian encampment in the England half. Demollari. Hodja is well forward. This is Millo. England happy for them to play it across the line. And Rocastle ends the attack, if such it could be called. At least that forced the Albanian coach to get to his feet. By nature, they're a fairly quiet people, the Albanians. So much of their history, they've been under the thumb of somebody or other from the Roman Empire and the Ottoman Empire forward. Which is why they perhaps view things in life with an element of suspicion. But they've certainly greeted the English who've come to their country with great warmth. Just talking about the officials involved with the football. But the crowd in the street generally don't give the impression of being a people under any sort of pressure. They're people who want to be themselves and don't want to be aligned particularly anywhere, having broken off relations with the Soviet Union and with the Chinese. England subs we saw warming up there. Beardsley, I suppose, is the first likely replacement. Difficult for Walker, but he made it. Shehu was the provider there. Zmijani, it's got up again. The gentleman down in front of me, one of the many smoking cigarettes. They all smoke here, it seems. Was not too impressed with that cross. I'm afraid my Albanian doesn't stretch, and maybe as well, to understand his comment.
The last few minutes, England just been a little bit content to sit back and let Albania come at them. I'd much prefer to see England just pushing forward, trying to get that second goal, rather than sort of let Albania come onto them.
Pearce. The silence of even a practice match, you get more noise in that. Lekbello. Just keeping possession, working their way forward. In the end, they're forced to go back to Mersini. That's a good challenge by Rocastle. Lineker just inside, number 10. Waddle for the cross. Ball is well behind the goal. But just, even though he didn't find the finish of cross or shot, a little burst then from Lineker.
Go free! Go anywhere! Go
His greatest strength really is that acceleration, which one or two people have queried in recent games that he's played for England. I think he used to get on the end of the long passes that Glenn Hoddle used to play through particularly well, and he saw those runs that Gary Lineker liked to make to get rid of his marker, and perhaps there isn't that long passer in the midfield to really utilise that strength, and that's why he perhaps is having that lean time, and he's not that sort of striker then that can take his particular marker on and go past him with individual flair. He relies on service.
Rocastle. Stevens outside if he wants him. He wished he'd used him now. It's Demollari. Thank you, Trevor. You're a bit generous to the management there with the use of the word perhaps. I mean, the balance of the side for the player like Lineker does need someone to feed him, and there certainly isn't a player here who would make a pass like that one. Demollari met Robson, met Walker, did Minga. Gega. Stevens with the throw. Rocastle. Waddle. Trying to get Barnes in, never looked like doing so.
Come on, Sam! Come on, Chris!
Which are beaten in the air by Minga.
Go on, son,
Waddle.
go on, son. Go on
To
again.
Barnes.
Go on, Chris.
It's a good challenge from the wrong side by Zmijani. Webb. Rocastle to his right. Lineker forward. Barnes getting into the box as well. As we come up with a quarter of an hour point of the second half. Goal kick. England still leading by the only goal. Scored in the 16th minute of the first half from John Barnes. Not been a match to set the pulses racing by any means. A match in which the result is the most important thing. Would at least give England a chance to rethink with Albania, the next opponent at Wembley, and then another game at Wembley against Poland. Demollari. This is Webb. I think I can identify the voice that you're probably hearing from the England bench. It belongs to Don Howe. This is Josa. Minga. Four front players, nobody from the midfield. Barnes. Stevens. Webb. Pearce gives the attack a bit of pace. Everything to his right. He's going to get a free kick for that challenge. And, Stuart Pearce is hurt a bit. Challenged by Zmijani. A lot of practice, as ever, on the set pieces. Hodja makes the run. He's unmarked at the moment. If it was played early, it's not. Hodja goes back, take a position on the far side. Lineker's the first to go. Won by Robson! It's 2-0. Brian Robson, the England captain, once again there when it mattered most. Got up very well, and he too has scored for England in consecutive matches. 24th goal for his country, and it brings a bit of comfort to this contest and to the attempt by England to qualify for the next World Cup in general. Delay on the free kick, taken in the end by Barnes, and Robson got up so well to head down, and Mersini was nowhere near it.
No one deserved the goal more than Brian Robson in this second half, because he's done some great defensive work. He's been egging on the rest of the team, trying to get them to push forward for that second goal. And then, fortunately, John Barnes didn't see that run that Terry Busher made. And once he'd gone back, that little space was left for Brian Robson to come into. He got up so well once the keeper had decided to stay on his line. And a typical Brian Robson header.
So with just now 63 minutes gone, England lead by 2-0. The scorers identical with those in Athens in our last match. Barnes, Robson. The other Robson, I think, will be breathing rather more comfortably, feeling rather more settled on the bench. Being an international manager is about winning the matches which matter most. Few for England have mattered more than this one in recent times. Webb. Stevens starts to go forward. Rocastle sees him, and Stevens is adjudged to have fouled, I think. Wasn't quite the pace on the ball that Rocastle hoped for. He didn't clip it quite hard enough. Not a movement in the crowd of any part of the anatomy, including the lips. Zmijani. Shehu. Two went to him, and the corner is conceded. Albanian's not used to the hustle and bustle of life as we know it. No private citizen owns a car. It's weird being in the main squares when it's really more bicycles than anything else. It's a good attempt by Jera, which produces the corner. So we did see one accident during our time here. It involved two bicycles. One youngster got knocked off his, and the elder man got taken away by the police. Demollari with the corner. That's Shilton's. Bobby Robson sits down. Waddle and Lekbello. Rocastle, if he can hold it, has a bit of space here, but he couldn't hold it. Long from Gega, looking for Millo. Albanian throw. Good cover by Pearce again. Another very good forward run by Zmijani. Albanian throw. Minga, Josa, put in from Barnes, and away goes Waddle. Lineker is up with him. Gega had come across. Now Stevens way on the right side. That's good play by Chris Waddle. Well taken by Stevens. It's a corner. That's the best we've seen from Chris Waddle, apart from the very important chest touch for the first goal. Got away then, but he got away in the position where he used to be a player regularly, on the wing. Good vision, saw Stevens well. The corner resulted. Barnes takes, Butcher is up, still in play. Minga makes it his.
Chris Waddle certainly seemed to be much happier, didn't he? Running down the wing there, saw the Gary Stevens run, just a bit disappointed that the cross got cut out. And again, this occasion is drifting into those situations. You feel if he is going to have to play up front, it's going to have to be in that hole where you've got two front strikers, and then he can drift into the wing positions and then play as a winger as such, but coming from the centre rather than being stuck out as a winger to start with. So I think it's going to have to be in the hole rather than just up front as he's playing today.
Rocastle and Barnes on the ball for the free kick for the challenge on Waddle. 5 England players forward. Turned away by Gega. Rocastle. Waddle again. Lineker on the near post. Rocastle. Waddle. Gega is the player down. And another corner. And it's important that England, now in control of the match, look for more goals. 2 that they've got at the moment. They're first in the World Cup, having been held at Wembley by Sweden. Will be good enough to put them on top of the table. With a better goal position than Sweden. Lineker at the back post. Stopped by Lekbello. Free kick. Shehu. Cut well forward and a misunderstanding. She was found by Millo. England escaped.
Des Walker did exceptionally well there because Peter Shilton was going to come out of the penalty area, and I don't think Peter Shilton knew whether he was going to head or chest it, and Des Walker took responsibility, decided to head it away towards Gary Stevens, and then blocked, in fact, the striker's run, who was going to come through beyond him. So good responsibility by Des Walker. He and Terry Butcher settled down in the second half a lot better than that sort of first 45 minutes when there were a few alarming gaps down there.
Walker is the player hurt. He will resume with a throw from the far side. And it has resumed. Gega. That's well won by Butcher. Pearce to Gega. 2 in the area. Zmijani. Good cover by Rocastle. Stevens. Lineker and Lekbello. The thing that one should say about Gary Lineker, he's certainly not in the form of which we know he's capable, but he's not a player who ever goes to lose himself. He always wants to be involved, even if things aren't coming off. He keeps trying. Millo. Jera. from the England substitutes. Down to our left. Pearce. Barnes. Skipper controlling things again. Pearce. Just a few whistles. Butcher lays it with great care for Pearce. It's it long for Waddle. That's the defender's ball again. That sort of ball is not likely to produce too much against a side playing a sweeper. Zmijani. Turned by Demollari. Space in the middle of the field. This is Josa. This is Jera. Pass intended for Gega. This is now Shehu. Demollari. Which comes to Josa. Jera.
Safe pair of hands by Peter Shilton again, although it was Gary Stevens that Jera turned. He went for the tackle, and if you go in for the tackle, you've got to make sure that you get the ball. You can see he didn't quite hit that left-footed shot, and Peter Shilton comfortably held on to it, but that was a good scoring opportunity.
Hodja. England looking as though they're sitting back a bit. Barnes. Pearce. Lineker moving away to the far side. Waddle now behind Pearce. Good to see Pearce having a go. Low cross was met by Gega. And again, although nothing like as well. So 2 or 3 times this season, Stuart Pearce really getting forward and taking people on for Nottingham Forest. That's the ability. Albania waiting to make a substitution. They want to bring on Majaçi. Some delay because the linesman is not happy about his apparel. It's going to be Millo to be substituted. The referee says, come on, we're going to play on. Barnes. Rocastle. Plenty waiting. Out to Pearce. Waddle. Millo. Barnes does well, but unfairly, says the referee. We're into the last quarter of an hour. It's been a good-tempered, well-refereed contest. Always a particularly lively one. But one which looks as though it will bring England what they need. A victory. 2-0 they lead. And, down in front of me, Bobby Robson is in animated conversation with England substitutes. Got Beardsley and Smith. So he could be going to make a double change forward. Lekbello. Millo. Hesitancy by Demollari. Useful ball by Brian Robson, and Lineker gets there first. Now is the Baron spell going to end? No. Unlucky Gary Lineker, but an example of the fact that he'll chase any cause. It was a more than useful ball out by Brian Robson. And what a pity that Gary Lineker was in the end beaten by the angle. Mersini left himself in no man's land. Maybe just blocked him a bit there. I'm surprised the referee hasn't given a free kick for that challenge. Lineker actually had a bit more time to take it in and set himself. But that's the sort of problem you meet when you haven't been scoring goals for your country lately.
Just a question whether it is confidence or whether it's just short of that little bit of acceleration, because when he takes those chances and he takes them so automatically, he looks so quick and is sharp in those last few strides. On that particular occasion, the last few strides were long and leggy and stumbly, and he was stretching for the ball, whereas before he's always right next to the ball when he clips it in, and that one always looked to be getting away from him.
Minga, free kick against Brian Robson. And here's Peter Beardsley, waiting to come into the action. Robson. Barnes. England players to his right. Not a soul there, I'm afraid. Looks as though it's going to be a double substitution for England. Smith and Barnes here. That's Smith and Beardsley here. Waddle is coming to the line, and I think the other one will be Lineker, who's looking as though he doesn't want to see that. Beardsley has certainly replaced Waddle, and Smith is going to replace Lineker. Now the Barcelona players' run of not scoring for England now goes into 7 matches since the end of last season, just before the European Championships in Lausanne. Scored the only goal of the match there against Switzerland. Smith gets another chance, and he's got about 12 minutes to play. 20 minutes against Saudi Arabia, played for 78 against Greece before he was substituted by the man who's now joined him, Peter Beardsley. Chance too for Beardsley to show that currently he's sharper than Lineker. He too hasn't been scoring for Liverpool. 5 goals. Scored against Charlton a week ago, but that was his first for 4 months. This is Webb. Smith. Barnes. Robson just comfortably laid across for Pearce. Barnes on the left, everybody else to the right. Robson. Disappointing ball from the skipper. Rocastle. Stevens. Could be argued that Bobby Robson has given himself a chance to look at something different. 12 minutes is not a very long time, but he had plenty to say to them before they came on. Gary Stevens. These, of course, that England have used the 2 substitutes they are allowed.
I think Bobby Robson also is very conscious that in a group where we've drawn the opening game to Sweden and 2 hard away matches in Sweden and Poland, this particular table might well be decided eventually on goal difference, and a 3rd goal against an Albanian side that's got to a certain extent their chins on the floor. This might be a good opportunity in these closing 10 minutes to get the 3-0, which could turn out to be vital at the end of the day.
Here's Webb. Rocastle. Just Barnes that way. Rocastle actually had some space. Here's Robson. The offside flag is up against Smith. Not too many people over the years, although Albania have only won 11 matches, all told, have actually turned them over. The Swedes were lucky, as we said at the beginning, and they only lost 1-0 in Poland. That's good play by Smith. Beardsley. Off the line by Zmijani. Nice play by Alan Smith. Beautifully balanced, sent the defender totally the wrong way. Smith again. Webb going on, but handball.
Situation where really Alan Smith probably done all what he thought was the hard work, had dummied the defender and then tried to pick out somebody in the middle. Unfortunately picked out the defender, and it then rebounded off the defender to Peter Beardsley, who was more surprised than anyone and couldn't strike the shot properly then. But good opportunity, and Alan Smith, a bit of a shame because he did beat the defender exceptionally well.
A little under 8 minutes left. 2-0 to England. As Trevor Brooking just said, a third goal would be more than a little useful. Smith underneath it. And free kick is against him. And he's challenged with Josa. No movement at all in the crowd. They're all staying to the finish. Feeling before was that they wanted to come to see England. They hoped, of course, for a home victory. But they wanted to look at a side that they've seen often enough on television. Get the results here too. This is Rocastle, where the ball's bobbling. Beardsley on for Smith. Just a touch then from Zmijani. Got a feeling too of about England. In Albania generally, it's on the curriculum. You know about people like Burns and Shakespeare. John Barnes. Gave himself room for the cross. That's well taken by Mersini. Gets a good cheer for it. Demollari. Majaçi. First chance for the Albanian substitute to get a feel of the ball. The best of balls up again. Shehu. Good foot in by Stevens. Disappointment for the Albanian supporters. And, probably his third chance in the match. One right at the beginning. One where he brought a fine save from Shilton, and then robbed in the nick of time. I said it was Stevens who robbed him, it was of course Pearce. Smith. That's good play. Robson, the defender, caught in two minds, but Webb and Robson a bit close. Wobbling ball again. This is Minga. That's a gift for Gary Stevens. Beardsley. Good play by the little fella. Didn't offer enough though for Smith. He's determined to make his presence felt in the time that he's been given. Majaçi. Rocastle. Webb. Caught a little reluctant from midfield and defence. Smith. Gega with him. Webb. Nobody moving into the area. Robson. This is Stevens. Still plenty of England players forward. Still time to get the extra goal, which would matter so much in the end. They've got the corner. Let's see who's going to be moved forward. Butcher starts to come forward, has a conversation with Brian Robson, and continues to go forward. Barnes to take. Beardsley. 3 waiting. Doesn't reach Smith. Rocastle, Webb. Plenty of time to look up and find somebody. Robson. Smith just to the right. Just couldn't make the pass. Rocastle. That's well spread out if Barnes can hold it, and he can. 3 more waiting. A lot of possession, no finish. Now Webb back across the front. Acrobatics by Smith, but to no avail. A lot of possession then for England, but never really the threat that it was going to be finished, Trevor.
A lot of men forward. John Barnes cross, good deep cross. Neil Webb heading it back, but as you can see, it's behind the 3 men that are just around about the 6-yard box, so it means an overhead kick. But I think, with a couple of minutes to go, we should give England credit, because everyone was sharpening, I think, the knives before they came here if the result wasn't right. 2-0. There have been some excellent performances. Brian Robson in particular, for me, David Rocastle, Peter Shilton made some vital saves, and probably at the back 4, Stuart Pearce.
Majaçi. Goal kick. And a great groan from the crowd.
Yeah, Stuart Pearce at the back 4, I think. Naturally, there's some minuses. In that first half, the defence was shaky, and against better opposition, you feel it would have been punished, and so that's something that I'm sure Bobby Robson is aware of. And I think up front is also the sort of gamble of playing Chris Waddle, and then the mystery, perhaps question mark, surrounding Gary Lineker at the moment hasn't been answered, and so I think they're the areas that he'll be more concerned. But in the all, let's give him credit, because a difficult match, and 2-0, if that's the eventual scoreline, will be very pleasing to everyone concerned.
Next match against Albania at home at Wembley on April the 26th. Of course, you'll be able to see that while you're watching this one. Demollari. We're inside the last minute. 2-0 is a better score than achieved here by Sweden. I wonder what Poland will do, having won by the only goal on their own soil. Barnes, Minga, Demollari. Always seems to have time. Not the best of passes from Josa. Barnes and Robson, the scorers. Spelling on the board to my right is a little interesting, but the goals count. We're inside the last 10 seconds. Dutch referee won't have too much to add on. Lekbello. Jera. Majaçi's just inside, had to hold it because Minga strayed offside. This is Majaçi. Shehu. It's the Albanians finishing in possession. Walker. Barnes allowed it to slip away. Crowd beginning to get to their feet. Shehu. It's all a bit crowded. And the shot is of no importance at all from Josa. Last people start to go away. And they walk back to the city centre, down the boulevard of the Martyrs of the Nation. Must be one of the few places in the world these days where you can see a statue of both Lenin and of Stalin. But on the football field here in Albania, England have gained a 2-0 victory. The scorers, Barnes and Robson. It's a score we would have settled for at the start, and certainly during the worrying phases of the first half. And it also gives England and their manager, Bobby Robson, time to sort out one or two of the problems. And it also, I believe, puts them on top of the group table.